जो सुमिरत सिद्धि होई गणनायक करी पर बदन करो अनुग्रह सोई बुरी राशि शुभ
Which has been gracious in all your forms that you have shown us through the Maya, but you are the one illuminator of this ever-changing world, the one ocean that we must cross. We must cross that ocean of temptation and desire to get back to your abode of love and compassion. We bow to you today and every day from this Ramayan Sumiran. Om Shanti, 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 Hari Om. My dear devotees, it is a pleasure and a true treat to have this opportunity that you have all bestowed on me tonight and the following two sessions to read the glorious Ramacharita which has grown so ever popular in all of America, which has fled through India all the way to the West Indies and has made our home here and other parts I salute you for your faith and hope, sincere hope in me. And I thank my Guruji for this opportunity as well. Hail to the motherland of India, the land of religion, which has brought a man of a calm, steady mind to sit in India along the Ganges River and meditate, only speaking a few words, but giving the human beings and this whole world something of strength and fortitude. The same man which has taught us that a secular education is no match to a spiritual education, as he has shown us the true tribute of teaching and selflessness. We bow again to the feet of the great Saint Ramakrishna. My dear friends, hail to the motherland where a great saint once told the people of India to wake up and smell the coffee, to stop putting flowers and milk in front of their Bhagavad Gita, but open it up with raised arms and love in their hearts to read this epic tale, to not do pious activity and spiritual traditions, but he called on the people of India to not only read it for a pious act, but to read it to build a better Hindu society where men and women all around the world would want to work together, and also to build schools and universities. But also as well, the man showed us his determination. India produced some moral giants, my friends. This man walked miles, sometimes 20 miles, just to get to the next village to read Bhagavad Gita, which has so unfortunately fallen in the traps and thrown out in the garbage and only worship and milk. We hail once again to the lotus feet of Shankaracharya. Hail to the great man who taught us nonviolence and hope that love the sick but hate the sinner, the great Mahatma Gandhi. Hail to India, which brought a Swami to the first international religious conference ever held in this great country of America, where he sat and he stood up for Hindus all around the world as he preached once more the Vedas, the Upanishads, and the Bhagavad Gita, the great Swami Vivekananda. And finally, hail to the motherland of India, where millions of Hindus all around the world have gained great strength from a simple book that has such great advice. A teacher to show us how to live came down on earth to show us the true meaning of life. It's the words inspired by a man who went from sin to saintliness to show us that everyone in the world can change their life if they are determined. We bow again to the lotus-like feet of the great Goswami Tulsidas. And why do we bow to Tulsidas's feet? Because he is a man who understood spiritual development. Tulsidas was very attached at one point to his wife by her sexual beauty. And he tried to cross a river in India because he wanted to see his sweetheart that night. So even though there was an ever-raging storm, Tulsidas got on his boat and he crossed over to the river on the other side. Dripping wet with pouring rain, he still was able to knock on the door and utter with his lips, "I wanted to see you tonight." And his wife said, "Oh Tulsi, what a great mistake you've made. Why can't you show the same love for God? Because I have only skin and bones. But if you could put your faith into something even greater, you would not waste your time and your energy, and you would be great." And he took her advice, and he became a saint of great piety, a saint that showed us the true meaning of determination, discipline, and goodwill. And he showed us once more, my friends, that there's only one thing worth living for. Krishna said it, Ram said it, Vishnu said it, it is God. And God itself exists in the human-like heart of all. And then we hail to one of the greatest saints who honestly showed us the idea of love, peace, humility, and fearlessness. He is a hero by epic times. We have grown with him for so many ages and decades because he has been a test of of time, but we cannot, as Hindus, claim to own him. If any of the great other world religions, such as Christianity, Islam, or Judaism, follow his example and surrender to his feet of humility and kindness and fearlessness, then they would reach the same goal as the Hindu man and woman. Because as the streams have sources in many different places, as the sources have those mingle all their water, that so too, as those streams are these paths which many men take. Those rivers are the paths. And even if sometimes those paths are crooked or they're straight, all of those paths lead to thee. And that is why all religions salute him as the one, Hanumanji. He is a great character for all Hindus to pay respect. This coming week, we will pay our respect to Hanuman and honor him on his birthday. So I think it is a great time for us to show our love again. For those of you who know Hanuman, it is the chance to rekindle your love and opportunity. For those of you who are hearing this for the first time, this is a chance to understand one of the greatest souls that ever lived, who taught through true love and bhakti, and taught all the Hindus how they should worship other human beings, and how to live a simple life that even gets you higher than all of these ideas of philosophy, sociology, psychology. There's so many thousands and thousands of psychologists and philosophers. But the greatest of them, I believe, are people, these characters in the Ramayan, are Swami Tulsidas, that showed us how to live. Philosophers are not bad, don't get me wrong. They may write a few books and teach us some lessons in life. But then, as time fades, they die out and they are soon forgotten. But the spiritual teachers of the world, my friends, like Hanuman, even though he was the incarnation of Lord Shiva, he is still a character. And he is still a human being. Yes, he came down in the world as a human being to show us how to live and even use his godlike powers to destroy evil. But more importantly, how we can have a good life, a righteous life. Because those spiritual teachers, unlike the philosophers of the world, who light a little match, and that you learn some good things from them at times, but the moral giants of the world, my friends, they light a torchlight. And that torchlight can be seen all around the world. And that is why characters such as Hanuman, even in the Ramayan, characters as we believe that they really lived, as we are Sanatana Hindus, we don't believe that they are just God, but they did come in this world to show us right from wrong. Tulsidas, Swami Vivekananda, they all showed us the true light. So these lives of saints are important. And that is why we must see that he is the imperceivable idea of conscience and speech. We bow to you over and over again, Hanumanji. You are the pervading light in this universe, just like Sita and just like Rama. You have given us not an idea of superstition, where we have to explain your image when people question us and even show bigotry because they do not understand our grand Hindu religion or our Ramayana or Bhagavad Gita. And we have to show them that you, as symbolized as a monkey, is supposed to symbolize the steadiness and swiftness as well and speed of the mind that will finally attune into the intellect where we can make wise decisions and no more be on the wrong path. Because, my friends, we've all done the wrong thing in the world. None of us are perfect, even as pandits. And even some of our greatest gurus in the world have messed up, as Valmiki is one, and Tulsidas as well. But we change. And these characters showed us it's never too late to change. But how do they change? The true selflessness. And that is the idea. So when we see Ram and we see Hanuman, they are not just figures of speech and physical beings. They are big in picture with big muscles and all these parts which would make the common man and the biggest phenomenon be afraid. Because that's when they have to destroy the evil people in the world. They have to be big and mighty. But they are also an example and ideal of how we can be happy in this world. That Shanti is what we all need. What we all want, as I said, even us gurus and even us pundits are after that Shanti. Because that is why Hanuman is a real figure in this Ramayana. We pick up the story where Hanuman just rescued Sita and Lanka. And Ram arrives on the scene and Ram says, Hanuman, what can I do to repay you for what you have done for me? Because Ram and Hanuman as well, their ideas of God. Ram as the Supreme Lord, they know the whole story. There's no question in their mind. Ram realized he could not even repay Hanuman. He said, come to think of it, Hanuman, I can never repay you for what you did for me. Because Ram realized that true love and true friendship means we are not traitors and bargainers and slaves. We are actually doing selfless work. As the great Swami Vivekananda put it, we put ourselves last. That is the Hindu phenomenon that is missing in America, that is missing in Europe, and the whole of the Western world. We put ourselves last. So that means that even if it's not my brother biologically or my sister biologically, we're supposed to treat them with that idea that it doesn't matter. We will still help and do the same that I would do for my real sister, or my real mother, or my real father. And that is what Ram and Hanuman come to show us, come to teach us, that true selflessness. And when we do that selflessness toward God, we give up everything, like on a piety bhakti, were the wonderful words that came out of Hanuman's mouth when Ram asked him for that boon. Hanuman thought about it. Does Hanuman need a new cell phone, a new television, a new iPad or an iPod? He is beyond all those material possessions in this world, my friend. He understands that this is true duty. And if he understands God, he can go back to God. No more heaven and hell on earth, pain and suffering. Just like in a war, a military soldier does his duty for his country. And even, as many sages have said in our Hindu texts, died in that war, were murdered in that war. That soldier reaches the same goal as Hanuman, or somebody who practices spiritual knowledge, or karma yoga, doing selfless acts, giving food to the poor people, all over America and even in our countries as well, doing those things. So you see, they all reach the same goal. All these sages cannot be wrong. Even Krishna said that all the paths really lead to me. So that is why we see that a thrill of joy came over Hanuman, and he could not get up. He bowed down to Lord Ram because he knew Lord Ram is not just some man with big muscles and a big torso. No, my friends, he is God. And Hanuman realized that, so he said, Trahi, Bhagavanta, save me, O Lord. Save me, O Lord. Those were the wonderful poetic terms, the rhythms and the rhymes that came out of the beautiful lips of Goswami Tulsidas. Because, you see, Hanuman is full of joy, this Anapayani Bhakti, and he is having a state of goosebumps. And that is his idea because he's overwhelmed with devotion. And as we see that, why wouldn't Hanuman just get up? You could say that from a literal sense. Because Hanuman understood that Ram is God. And in this sense, Ram, now the writer really of the Ramayana, took human form, and he's still God. But as that human being now, Hanuman is worshipping the personal and impersonal aspects. So Sri Ram becomes like a guru to Hanuman. And that is the idea that we see. He shows us how to truly perform arti. With not the idea of showing off, bragging, talking, or making a lot of noise, but we can all learn from him. As I said, even the greatest sages in the world, nobody is perfect, can learn from Hanuman's example. Why did Ram lift him when he was down on his feet? Because, as we all say, and many great sages in the Hindu text have written, this is how the story was supposed to unfold. Because Ram is strong, Ram is God, he could just lift learn about humility. We would not learn what it means to be simple in life. That when you really respect someone, you go down to their lowest anatomy, which is their feet. So that is the idea. That's how it plays out. So these scriptures are not literal, and I'm not following the general idea of the Ramayan. From Balkan to Yucatan, Sundarkan, I have to break here and there to bring it back to the more important parts. So, because of that, he sees the truth. And he sees what he really wants in this world, because what is he going to say? I think we know from the heart what Hanuman is going to say. Tulsidas tells us in Chaupai. Nat bhagati ati pleased, O Lord, as He is one for Anapayani Bhakti. This Chaupai is the same, but just different words and different meters to show His love. To grant me unceasing devotion to You, which is the source of the highest bliss. When Ram heard his request, he said, so be it. And he gave him what he wanted. He wanted Ananda Swarupa, the source of joy in this universe that is beyond all measures, all perishable things and items in this world, all sense objects that we've all been glued to from one point or another in our lives. So first we have to make the distinction. How could Hanuman have so much strength to ask for these things? Well, first, he knew his purpose in life. He knew that all these objects were temporary and fleeting. And he knew that the only thing that was worth knowing is that soul within. The Vedas say the main goal of life is to eliminate all suffering and give happiness to everyone in the world. These objects, as we are glued to them, and we get more glued to them and glued, they do bring unhappiness and misery to our lives. That is the truth. And it is said in all our scriptures. And one of our great saints, the wonderful female Puli, that showed even men that she is very knowledgeable. Not only with Gyan and Vigyan, she knew herself. She said that a person who does not know the self in the world and does not experience the supreme bliss has no reason to live in this world. And truly, they said, it is a waste of time for that individual. So we said that Hanuman realized this right away. But many of us, when we forget that, then we have to go through the difficulties and tribulations. The Sanskrit word is that niti, the slow progression to God, until we get unglued to these objects and all these things. So it is the Buddha way. He was king of a palace, and I will prince of a palace. I won't go into all the details, but he slowly moved himself to the state of God and self-realization. So we see that as these things are happening, we are journeying from all lands. And all my friends, we've all journeyed from place to place, from forest to forest, and we've picked flowers and fruits. And what has it gotten us in the end? All that we have gained is we're tired. At the end of the day, we can drive in our car. We can even experience the greatest entertainment, listen to the greatest songs, watch the greatest sporting event. But then in the end, we are tired. So we all face that same reality, no matter what our secular education is or not. Even a man that attends a celebration to be rewarded 5 awards in his university because of his great scholarly teaching, and he attends this event with his wonderful wife. At the end of the day, what happens after all the speakers have given contribution? He speaks, he goes home, he's tired, he's ready to go to bed. Because when we go to bed, that's when we experience that true essence of the self. Hanuman understood it, he called it bhakti. And that is the idea that we're all facing. And he had true wisdom. But we realize in this idea that not everybody can be in those same categories. But when we see the truth in all, the true meaning, as Hanuman did, and he asked for this boon of Nata Bhakti Ati Sukadayini, give me ever-ending, non-ever-ending joy, then he really realizes that God and all of those men who are great in their other feats will surrender to him too. He is an ideal for all Christians, Muslims, and Jews alike, to live a life of humility, simplicity, and fearlessness, and that we can all reach the same destination. All many roads lead to one. Just like that great bhajan by Hari Om Sharma, which I'm sure my few friends tonight will help me sing. Ragupati Raghava Ajara Patita Pavana Sitaram. Jai Jai Ragupati Raghava and I bow down once and again to his feet, to surrender myself of all good and all evil, to get back across the ocean of temptation. Ishwara Allah tero naam sabko sampati de Bhagavan. You are Ishwara, you are Allah. You are all of these forms who worship you in various amount of masses and religions and world religions, but you are the one form of peace. So it shows that however we want to worship our Lord, there are many paths that men can take. And even though there are some lower and higher forms, all reach us to the Lord. Do you want to know why, my dearest devotees? Because we are all soaring eagles, flying higher and higher. So there is no high and there is no low. And that is what our great songs teach us too. So we see that Tulsidas was so moved by Hanuman's statement, he even had Lord Shiva himself make it a point. Lord Shiva told his wife Uma, who is God as well, and the incarnation, as you know, is Hanuman, who took the physical form. He said, he Uma who has true knowledge of God, has no relish in anything other than worship. He takes to this conversation the heart, is blessed with devotion to Rama's feet. So we see all of these over and over telling us the great things to do. So we forget that we're the soul like Hanuman. We think that we are body, because you can't close your eyes for a second and see a soul. You see a body in front of you, and then you see the physical configuration of what that body looks like. Because we're so limited in our devotion and knowledge. But he showed us that we can't get to that state of perfection. It may take neons and neons of lifetime. There's no stopping in Hinduism how long it can take, but we may even see it. We will one day reach our Lord. And that is why we don't criticize anyone, as I said earlier. I've said this many times in different rhymes and verses and different poets I've quoted tonight. But we see that even Krishna himself told us very, very directly and distinctly, because we've got to remember Ram, Krishna, and Vishnu are the one, same Lord. So if we are seeing the truth in Ramayan, and we're seeing it in Bhagavad Gita, it must be true. If all of them, sages are saying these things, it is great. So Krishna tells us that there are 4 devotees. The Arta is the one who is distressed and ill, and he prays to the Lord when he is sick. He is the 3rd lowest of all, but even Krishna said that he is good, because at least he is coming to me, even though he is only thinking about me in trials and tribulations. Then, my friends, there is the Arta, the Artarta, which is the one who is asking over and over for material wealth. This one wants more houses, more cars, more luxuries, more mansions. When does it end? Right? Krishna said that is okay too. I will not condemn him to hell, because he is also thinking about me. And then there's the Jignasu. The Jignasu, my friends, is the one who is trying to reach moksha, one in liberation. Oneness, nirvana, liberation. These are all the same thing, my friend. That Jignasu wants to reach God, but he sometimes falls off the wagon like we all do in this world. As I said, even the greatest gurus and men in the world. So he still, though, is questioning. The Jignasu continues to question God. He has some spiritual knowledge inside of him, but he is not strong enough to go all the way with his devotion and jnana. But he is one that will make his parents very happy, because the parents will see him as an honorary student who is trying to learn and better himself and really understand the essence of life. And then the jnani is the one that is already liberated but just lives in a human form. That jnani, my friends, is the one that we are all trying to strive for and work toward, and it is very difficult. That jnani sees the Lord in all, no temptation. All he wants to do is pray, help the poor, do all kinds of yoga, because he sees the only thing that worth is seeing is God and his fellow human beings. So we see that all over and over in the world. And as we go on, we think about some of those people, as I said before, that have truly inspired us. But the Jnani is one that I said again is very wise and understands that there is nothing greater. Because what is the purpose of life? Does the sages say. And Hanuman realized it. Hanuman is the Jnani. We have come in this world. Where are we going and where have we come from? We thought that we were enjoying the fruits and the sweets of the world, but we did not know that they were killing us. And we see that even a great saint, but also a student, because you can still, as we know, learn until the age forever. You never stop learning, especially in Hindu scriptures. The great saint of the great saint, Maharishtra, said that I thought I was enjoying my sense pleasures. I did not know that they were enjoying me. I thought I was spending my time, enjoying my time. I did not know that it was spending me. So these words coming from these poets, and we always see in our texts the word poet and saint, guru. We don't see the word philosopher too much, or even teacher, because those are for the secular minded, which, as we always say in this temple, all our pandits who speak, that is good. That education will help you get a job, support family, and whatnot. But the spiritual education will take us back to God, to Ram. We want to be like Hanuman. We want to be, and this another bhajan that shows this point, because it says here, Koi samjhe bhakta sujan amanita kirapa karete. The wise devotee, that the Jnani I was talking about, understands that Sri Ram showers his grace daily. Sometimes his hands are soft and tender, sometimes very aggressive, and can even hurt us and punish us when we do the bad things in the world. But he is the mystery, and the wise men seek him. So this is for everyone who wants to understand Hanuman tonight and be that Jnani. Repeat after me. Song again taken from Hariom Sharan. Koi samjhe bhakta sujan Ramanita kirpa karate. Ramanita kirpa karate. Koi samjhe, koi samjhe, koi samjhe bhakta sujan Ramanita kirpa karate. Ramanita kirpa karate. Some and everyone, I think, in the world have messed up. And we can't compare the screw-ups. Remember Valmiki, who was a murderer, a robber, a thief, and he changed his life. And he was one of our greatest saints. The problem that we see is that when we not encourage it, we don't encourage children enough. We bring them down. We say very hurtful things to them. And then, even if a child really has the ability to do something, but he or she is very shy, as I was in a child, it is almost impossible to get the strength. Because your parents are your gurus too. So we must all be like that idea that the lower form of guru, but still guru nonetheless, in the temple, at a job, in schools, to raise people by themselves. As Lord Krishna said, you are your own best friend. You are your own worst enemy. But Krishna didn't say don't pull people up. We got to keep pulling people up. And no matter how long it takes, and eventually people will listen. And he paralleled. That's why that song is paralleled so well. Because it shows that the person of wisdom is dear to God. But we are all jnanis in the sense that we're all striving to be too. And I see my good friend in the back was very into that song. That song has a deep message because it shows that we can be great people. So we are all selfish beings, and it seems like we can't change. But we can, as I said, we can ask for help. Hanuman was pure and perfect because he saw that God and all. And also, we see that there is no higher and no lower. That this Supreme Atma is the universal entity of everything. So to be like Hanuman, we have to say, I am not the body. I am a spirit living in a body. This body will die, but I will go on living. And yes, I had a past too. And that past was glorious by all means in the world. That past takes me out of darkness and delusion. And it inspired a sage, a Vedic sage, to stand up and proclaim to the whole entire world, even the men and women of all the other faiths and religions, I have found the Ancient One. I have found the Ancient One, that by understanding Him, all pain and sorrows is removed, that all darknesses are removed. He is the one that makes the rain come from the clouds, makes the fire burn in an altar, and even when we are cooking our food. He makes the water run when we turn on the drain. He makes all of these things happen. And He is a God. So but there's a bigger point here, my dear friends. Before we get caught into temptations in this cycle of Maya, what our sages are telling us, even a great saint by the name of Swami Muktana, who traveled the whole world, but spoke in such simple poetry, the essence of ourself and beings. They are telling us that the world is temporary, yes, but also there is something greater in that world. By knowing, knowledge will remove the ignorance. Many people get caught in the world because we don't know how great that soul is. So, if we understand that, then we can truly be liberated. They're all temporary pleasures, and you have many paths toward God. But as we see, that we don't have to get discouraged. We're going, yes, from one thing to the next, and it is very difficult. But where there's some help, we can learn the lesson of life. It is just like when a bee was flying around a forest in India and was flying from tree to tree, from flower to flower, and he was getting further and further away from his home with the mother bee and the children bee, the boy bee, the girl bee, and all the grandchildren bees. He was flying away. And then he reached the flower petals, which were miles and miles away from his house, flying on one rosebud to the next, like that and that. And finally, he found one that was intoxicating with honey. And he started sipping that honey. And the bee said, I will stay here all afternoon and all night. I will even sleep here. I have found a flower that gives me the most honey. And then tomorrow, I will go home. I will fly back to my house and tell the lady bee that I have found this tree, my beloved, where we can have all the honey in the world. And our children will come here, and I will invite my friends and family as well. But you know what happened, my friends? In another forest, a strong, gigantic elephant was roaming around very fast with an intoxicating appetite, taking trees and putting them and stuffing them in his mouth until he reached the forest where the other bee was. And the bee kept thinking to himself, I will tell all my friends about all of this honey. It will be great. But he never lived to see it. Because what happened? The elephant came along, took that tree, put it in his mouth and ate it. And the bee kept crying the song of sadness. I am dying. I am dying. I am dead. So that is what happens, that we think we're spending our time, but it's taking us. But when we see what happened to that bee, we can learn a lot about life. And that is why I said earlier that it's hard to analyze Ramayan from beginning to end. We must analyze it in the proper form. And that is something that we see in all our books. And something that is beloved to all of us is when we flash back or we fast forward to show us how these characters truly lived. And at this point, I want to show you that in the Sundar Kand of the Ramayan, Tulsidas left Ram on the southern shore of India. And Ram now has tried to think of all attempts to bring his wife back. As I said, sometimes you have to fast forward and go. And it's not skipping parts, but we want to analyze the true essence of our gurus and Hanuman. And we meet Vibhishan. Vibhishan's brother Rama, the 8-headed monster, captured Sita. Vibhishan said, what am I gonna do? Because even though Vibhishan came from an evil family, he was in love with Sri Ram. Because Hanuman even saw him praying at a temple in Ayodhya to Sri Ram, and even other temples too, and a couple temples in Lanka, because Vibhishan can change. But we see that that is the problem we have in this world. So here Vibhishan is coming to meet Ram. He told Ravana, give back Sita to Ram. Ram will forgive you. Don't you know the loving heart of Ram? And Ravana did not want to hear it. He was full of anger, pomposity, and jealousy because it's a beautiful woman and now he gets to own her in the physical sense, sexual sense, emotional sense. He's not listening to his brother. And he literally kicked his brother Vibhishan out of the great court. And Manabari, a servant of Ravan, also said, give back Sita to Ram. Remember that Ram is God. And Sita is the essence of God. But still, he did not want to do it. So what does Vibhishan do? Well, he has to walk all the way to show his steadfast determination. Ram is gathering with his ministers, Sugriva, who has been back as the king of the village. Ram had just helped Sugriva defeat his evil brother Bali in a terrible war, in a terrible conquest. And now, Vibhishan is looking for their help. And here Hanuman is with them. But what is going to happen? Tulsidas says in Chaupai, Kara Prabhu Saka, Kara Prabhu Saka, Vachiyu, We don't know Ram nor Vibhishan very well, as I said. These stories seem like novels, and there's pain and tribulation. But even Western films copy our scriptures because the good always wins over evil, because it was set like that in Hindu text by our sages to understand the true meaning of life. Well, Sugriva said, the wiles of these demons are beyond all understanding, Sri Ram. One does not know why he has come here. But likely, Sri Ram, the fool has come here to spy out my secrets and to spy out our secrets. You must take him prisoner and put him in the jail cell, surrounded by guards. So Ram, showing us, as he is God, how to live, as not only the perfect son, perfect king as well, but also showing us his humility. He asks other people. He asks a lot of people and other servants, and they tell him to lock him away for good and let Vibhishan stand in the crest and the rust of evil. And then he's thinking about it. He doesn't want to make a rash decision, but we see that all the time. We never want to forgive people when they do the wrong thing. So we see that there are many people in this world. There were many thieves in this world, in Hindu society, for example, American society. And it's sad because not only in American society, but Hindu society, some of these thieves want to change their life. And people condemn them. They don't give them a chance to change. They say that this person has made a mistake and that's it. But Hanuman shows us and Ram shows us the idea of forgiveness. And this is hard to do when we see people who are evil in the light of a teacher who is having, let's say, a student in the class, and the student performs badly and skips out on school. And the teacher has to give that girl a big gigantic F. And then the next year, the other girl, her sister, comes back and takes this same teacher again in high school or college. And the teachers say, oh my God, here he come again. Here she come again. And there's no love in the heart. So even if that sister really tries and wants to get an A in that class, it's very hard because the teacher has already made up his mind. That's the sister of that girl who has an attitude problem, who is in arrogance and very, very lazy as a student. And then you have to take that. Imagine carrying that around with you everywhere you go. It's a big burden, my friends. So we can't judge people just by the family they come to. Sometimes we can. But Tulsidas shows us, have a humble and loving heart. And we see that he proceeded to ask Angada, the brother, in fact, of our own Bali, what should I do? And should I question him? Should I trust him? And Angada said, you must surround him with all these servants and then lock him up. Not to the prison, he wasn't going as far as Sugriva, but he said, question him. Because he comes from an evil family, don't let him off the hook. So we see Hanuman spoke last because of his humility. There was a greatness. And a great sage told me, once said, show a man in his smallest actions perform the right thing in the world. By his smallest karma, that is how you judge a man. Any man can be a hero at one time or the other when everyone's eyes are upon him. But it takes a true, great person to be even his true self and not change. And not follow the crowd when 100 people are questioning him. Or he is at the party with 100 friends. And they're all telling him, drink that beer. And the friend refuses because he has that strength. And our sages say, even though it's a small action, he is going to reach the state of oneness of God. So we see that the importance of this idea. Don't write people off. Give them a chance. Look at them in their smallest actions. And Hanuman and Ram, as we're dealing with Hanuman mostly tonight, But they both show us in this exchange interpersonal skills that we are lacking in this world. A lot of times we go to school or we even go to our jobs and no one says hi to us anymore. How are you doing? How was your day? You buy a couple notebooks and a couple textbooks at your school and a couple pens and pencils, and the worker says, hey, have a nice day. But does he really mean have a nice day? Or is he just trying to make you feel good? Because at the end of the week, Friday come, he gets his paycheck. That is the problem in the world. We stop living like Hanuman. And that one example, even if Hanuman did not rescue Sita, even if he didn't have the guts to go face Rama and Lakshman on his bare feet as a hermit, he still would be great because of that, even that one thing I just mentioned. He answered Sri Ram last. He didn't feel like he had to talk and talk and talk. And we see that many times in the world. And when you get down to the crux of what the person is really trying to say, I'm sure we all find it's really nothing. It is just an empty vessel making a lot of noise. Because those flowery words will not impress people. What we have to do now is to follow that idea of humility which Hanuman showed us. And that interpersonal skill of how we can relate to others and solve problems is what keeps temples alive, is what grows many businesses and schools. And we can even work for a greater society if we follow the Ramayan and Bhagavad Gita and how we talk to people. Even Sri Krishna said in the Mahabharata, my greatest devotee is gentle as a lamb but strong as a lion. We have to get back to that idea of kindness. And even though he was calm and humble, he was not, and I'm speaking on, of course, the glorious Hanuman here, who came into the world to show us not only the right way, the perfect way to live in every situation. He even showed us that I'm going to speak last. I'm not going to use a lot of flowery words like Sugriva and Andara did to make my points. I'm going to do it in a simple way, but I am going to speak the truth. And I'm going to stand up for Dharma. Dharma is righteousness. Hanuman is protecting righteousness. All our sages are protecting righteousness. And that is the idea. Because he said to himself, I will not let Vibhishan's character die out, be murdered and annihilated. Because I saw Vibhishan praying. And he's a good guy. And even though he comes from the worst of the families, I will not let him fall victim to a prayer. And Hanuman, that's the reason, even though he spoke to Ram and he's being humble, as I said earlier, Guruji has made this point many times in this temple. We are not reading an ordinary book or novel. This story had to go this certain way. Let me tell you why, my friends. Hanuman already knew what Sri Ram's answer would be to him, because he knew that Ram was God, the imperishable. Again, to quote the great Saint Bhartrahari, it has no gender, it has no color. It is limitless, it is formless. It is that imperceptible of speech, but it's the thing that makes me talk to you tonight, and you can listen to me. And it makes us realize, when we realize that, the saint said, Hanuman already realized that. That's why he was so happy and wasn't even fearful when he talked to Sri Ram. But when we're confused on that, what happens? We think we're Americans, we're Indians, we're Guyanese, black, white, Russian, tall, short, fat or thin. We don't see ourselves from the perspective of the Atma. And we see ourselves, because we think we are those things, we go to our jobs, we try to accumulate as much money as businessmen and businesswomen. We want to be the greatest teachers and greatest lawyers and greatest doctors. But because we don't understand that soul that Hanuman is speaking to us about tonight, we think that we are the greatest in those things when we earn the most money. When we've earned more money than our fellow friend, we are a great doctor. We're a great lawyer. We're a great businessman. But what about when we don't do these things? What about when we try to be great, but we have not realized it? Then that voice from the heavens calls that you can do it, that I am a spirit in a body, and I am that light. So even though we see this all the time, we know right away what Ram is going to do. But we also know what Ram is feeling inside. And he shows us in this wonderful chaupai that I know my dear friends will help me with tonight. And we quote Goswami Tulsidas. Ram says, my friend, you have reasoned here tonight with much political wisdom, Sugriva. But my job is not to be a politician, to show how we get out a political idea. I know many of my friends here who tonight, we talk about that all the time. It's better to be righteous than be political. Because in the end, truth will always stick to the wall. But lies and unrighteousness will always fall down. Ram said, Sugriva, hear me more. Furthermore, my friend, I am here to take away the dispels and fears from my devotees. I am here to take them and whatever feeling they have, closure that they need, I want them to dispel it. I want them to get it out openly to me. I want them to hug me in their bosom so they can be one with me. And how much pain they are in, Ram says. I am here to dispel even the worst of that pain. What do you think Hanuman did, my friends? A radiant smile, as the great Tulsidas shows us in poetic forms, tells us, flew from his fluorescent face. It wasn't just an ordinary smile, a fake smile when we're trying to, as I said earlier in my kata, bargain with people. We're nice to people when they give us some money, or they drive us to work. But then when that deed is fulfilled and we got our car back from the shop and it's all fixed again, and we have our money in our wallet or our purse, we don't need that person anymore. So we see that Hanuman is showing us that that is the true idea to live for. That how like a loving father, Hanuman said, even the Lord dispels all fears and all anger and hate from any of his devotees. He is loving to all people. And we see that over and over again. And that is what keeps us going. And we realize that when we get rid of all these temporary joys, as I said earlier, become one with God, we will feel like our Jnani and our Guru, Hanuman. That is the idea. So now he feels great. He feels that it has all come to light. And now Vibhishan goes to meet Ram, and what happens? Ram immediately hugs him in his bosom, dispels his fear. And Vibhishan talks about him as a mighty giant, as a mighty lion, such poetic terms said by our great Goswami Tulsidas, a great specimen. But Vibhishan wasn't admiring him because of his physical beauty. No, my friends. He was admiring Sri Ram because his wishes were fulfilled. He knew now he could get out of this terrible predicament he was in with his brother Ravan, and he would be one with God. Hanuman is not a monkey. He shows us that ideal. He is a devotee. The monkey form shows us, as I said, the swiftness of mind. Sita is not a beautiful lady. She's a lady trying to get back to God. Ram is not a handsome, muscular specimen of a man. He is Lord. So he has to look like that physically. Because remember, physically and spiritually, it is all one the same. He is great. And he is mighty. So if we see him with the big arms, we can worship him and we can understand how great he is spiritually. We can see Sita in all her prettiness. Then we can see the love of that individual soul. We can see Hanuman as a strong monkey. We can realize even in the worst tribunes, tribulations, and difficulties and distresses, he will remove our sorrows. So, despite all our evidence, he has come to him tonight, my friends, with an open heart. That is the reason why we see Hanuman has done it again. He has given that strength to Vibhishan, that strength that's missing. We don't give our children. He raises them up. And we see that as he does that, all our scriptures are saying the same thing. And that fluorescent light, that mightiness, is there. And it is there over and over. But we get confused too many times over. Why do we fall? Why can't we live up to the standard of Hanuman? Because we can't see the truth, the knowledge. And it is like a great story of the great Sheikh Nasruddin who visited India many years ago and traveled afar in India from village to village. And finally he made his way to Delhi. And he saw a market full of fruits and vegetables. And right there, Sheikh Nasruddin saw a full line and he couldn't believe. He said, "Why all these people here? What's going on?" And one by one, he sat under a tree to look at what was going on, and he saw they were all eating these chilies. But even more people than they were eating them were buying them. So then he said, well, when you're in Rome, as they say, do what the Romans do. So Sheikh Nasruddin went and decided to buy a couple pounds of chilies. And he sat under his tree and he started eating these chilies. First one was bitter, but he said, you know what? Maybe the second one will be a little sweeter, because he never went to India before. In this part of India, Delhi, he went to India, but he never had this. It was a delicacy, and he realized it was a delicacy. But he said, well, why does it taste so bitter if it's a delicacy? Where's the sweetness? When you give prasad or sweet rice, it tastes good, right? This thing was awful. Nasruddin was like a sage. He said, something's got to be wrong. Surely the second one will taste better. More bitter than the first one. And then a third one. And he continued to stuff his mouth with chili after chili, thinking that the next one, the following one, would taste better. And it continued to give him such an agitation, not only of his physical body, but of his mind. But because he kept on eating them, finally a villager from Delhi crossed over and he said, my dear friend, what are you doing? And Nasruddin said, well, I'm eating chilies. And the man from India said, don't you know that these are a delicacy? You're not supposed to eat so many of these. And then Nasruddin continued to eat them. At this point, the man was shocked because this great saint was not listening to him. And he said, why do you continue eating these chilies? Nasruddin said, my friend, I paid for these chilies. I bought these chilies and I have to finish these chilies. I'm not eating these chilies anymore. I'm eating my money. Because he wanted to get his money's worth, like we all do. You want to buy a car, an expensive car, but you don't go to the dealer first. You go to a second-hand guy, and you don't get any warranty on the car. You say, okay, but you know, I like this color of this. I love this yellow color of this Corvette, and I'm going to buy it. And I saw this on a TV show, actually, and it's true. It happens all around the world. And then the guy started driving the car, and the car broke down in the middle of ongoing traffic, right at the intersection. People are honking and honking at the young man. And the man said, you bought that car the way you bought it. It was in prime shape when you bought it. What happened? And the guy couldn't believe it. Couldn't believe it. And that's what happened. He wasted his money. And that is the idea. We go from one thing to the next. We keep thinking it will give us happiness and gives us more sorrow. So, what we have to do is eliminate ourselves from these trials and tribulations. And in conclusion, my friends, we see that we have to focus on what is right and what is wrong. And I will end with this beautiful bhajan that tells us the truth. We are running a little short on time, so just one verse. Torah Jamila Juti Jagaka Kihigaye Yasikabir. O Ram, I must surrender to you. Must surrender of this temporary world of attachments, pains, and tribulations, one desire to the next. O child, you must follow Ram, follow the poet Tulsidas, and go back to the Lord, where there is no more coming and going. And if we can do that tonight, we will not only be a jnani like Hanuman, but we will help the world realize that the whole universe, the three worlds combined, are all moral giants. We are strong mentally and physically, emotionally, and we must get back to that trip. And we will get along with each other. We will help the poor people, we will help the world, and we will not be suffering in the world of heaven and hell. Chora Jamila, Jute Jagaka, Chora Jamila, Jute Jagaka, Kihigaye tells us in that bhajan, surrender yourself. Give away all of these desires. And Tulsidas says, follow the path of God, which is Ram. And you see this Krishna is Ishwara, as I said in the bhajan, Raghupati Raghu, Allah, all of these, one name. And even the Heavenly Father is God too. In Hinduism, we see everything as God. We don't hate anyone. We don't condemn anyone. Everyone can get to Godhead. So we will be free from this world once and for all. And that is what the bhajan says. And that was my message tonight. Thank you, my dear friends, for your support. I would like to thank everyone. And thank again my musicians, Mataji Nal, by Mala, and by Balo, and by Anand. And as well, Rakesh. I didn't forget about you in the corner, Rakesh. Thank you guys for your help. And let us make tomorrow a success. Prem se bolo Shri Krishna Chandra Bhagwan ki jai. Prem se bolo Shri Ramachandra Bhagwan ki jai.